Fuck you, Brad.
Get him out of your system. Come on.
No. Fuck you.
Just gonna save them for later, the rest of you?
As they should be.
All right.
I'm waiting until you're past this and ready to go.
Well then, let's give you your cue.
I'm holding my action.
I'm going to hold my action to an editable part and then let her rip.
Proceed.
We are back to I can't get through a cold open. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and right now, tonight, there is only Warhammer. Welcome to the Tainted Hive, the first season of our Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Maledictum podcast. I'm your GM Brad, guiding our group. Joining me today, as always, are Justin, Eric, Mike, and Alex. Gentlemen,
Yes.
Episode 8. Happy Warhammer.
Warhammer Vertical Infinity.
Warhammer Vertical Infinity. All right. Jumping right in tonight. No major preamble, no major announcements, so let's just get to it.
We begin coughing.
You begin coughing. Wheezing,
Again.
coughing.
Thank you for setting the mood, sir.
Anytime.
I feel like
That's what
I'm
here
there.
You know what? That's the recap. That's your guys' recap, is you guys just hacking on each other. Last time in the Tainted Hive, you made your way through the Thaler hostelry, finding yourselves in the safe room. As Roderick and Dimitri were entering said safe room, Mordecai, you were breaking into Rigel's room, casing it, and found a half dozen las packs in a satchel beneath a loose floorboard under his bed. Quentin, you were listening in to Rigel, or someone you think is Rigel. Yes, sir.
We do not know that this is Rigel until now.
You've been thinking it's Rigel this whole time.
I've been saying it's Raquel the whole time. Thanks for the confirmation. Ragu's room, painted red.
I mean, number one, I'm just writing it based on what you've said. Number two, I'm annoyed. I want to just delete this whole episode, start over.
Click deleted.
So the problem is that Erica said, oh, it's Rigel, it's Rigel. I'm like, you don't know that yet. Anyway, the room that you think is Rigel's, which is what I should have said.
Did we just win Clue?
I'm so annoyed right now.
We did, didn't we?
We love you, Brad. Carry on. Sorry.
No,
Not
fuck
sorry.
you, Brad.
Not sorry.
I mean,
You know that fuck you, Brad, we were holding in reserve?
go for it.
There it is. No,
right.
that was it.
It was.
What's funny is, anyway. All right, so to recap the episode properly and to finish what I was saying, so you made your way through the Thaler hostelry. You found yourselves in the safe room. Quentin, you followed a gentleman who you thought was Rigel, who spoke with Netabeus in his red, who had said that he kind of, whoever he was, knew that something was onto him. Netabeus kind of hinted that, you guys had been looking into some situations, and the gentleman in red basically stated that one of his runners hadn't reported in, so he knew something was going on. You watched him walk away with 5 guards. Mordecai, you broke into the room of who you think is Ragu. You guys keep saying he's Ragu, you keep saying he's Rigel. Wore off on me, I apologize. You broke into that room. You found 6 las packs. Took them to the safe house. Dimitri, you proceeded to literally whack one with an entrenching tool to see if it was full of gratis. Could have ended
It was a
terribly.
good idea.
Could have ended terribly. Instead, it ended up just spilling acid onto a table and eating through the table, being thrown into a trash can, and taken out by the one person who wouldn't be noticed with a smoking, smoldering trash can, Quentin.
I wish it had ended a little worse. He would have ended up with a chemical burn.
Ooh.
Oh, he said it! Did you just dad joke the episode? I love it. I love it. Well within safe house, You all grabbed a quick meal of a nutrient bar. Dimitri and Mordecai, yours being smothered in slightly burned melted waters.
Bussin'.
And a cup of recaf. And then you made your way from the hostelry back through the lower level, swinging by a shop on the way to pick up a couple of lamp packs or flashlights, torches, whatever word you want to use for them.
Stab light.
They call them a stab light in the book, yeah. It's also a lamp pack, depending on which author, which I will probably, unfortunately, revert back to calling them lamp packs, because that's a Dan Abnett word. But stab pack, stab light, stab light.
Put them both together.
You put them both together to get a stab pack. Is it a pack of stabbies? No, it's a light.
I guess stab pack sounds more like what Dimitri would be carrying around to stab people with needles with, you know?
Right?
That's what I'm going to call that dumbass word for a medic's pouch. Stab pack.
Chirurgeon's kit?
The Chirurgeon's kit?
Yeah.
I love the word Chirurgeon.
It's gross.
So, you made your way to the lift. You took the lift up to sublevel 6. You stepped down into a massive thoroughfare, as wide as you could possibly imagine. Wide enough for two, what I said was Lehman Russ tanks. Massively wide tanks, about 4 people wide each. These massive thoroughfares, it stretched left to right, a slightly smaller one straight ahead. Through some intuitive navigation by Dimitri, you made your way down about a kilometer, took a left down a smaller avenue as well, and found yourself standing outside of the Battery Manufactorum 6.938. The air on sublevel 6 was borderline, is not even appropriate, blatantly noxious. And unfortunately, Dimitri, Roderick, and Quentin, you all failed your test against the exposure. Each of you is now coughing and has kind of that kind of just feel of a thick chest. So you have a kind of a recurring cough. You have disadvantage on stealth and on both awareness for sound and smell. We left off with the 4 of you having stepped into the Manufactorum, having seen the large number of serfs and laborers that are working within this Manufactorum, this city-sized, small town-sized plant. You saw hundreds, if not thousands, of these laborers working underneath the gantries, atop which there are overseers in rebreathers with loud hailers yelling out as people slack. And where we left off last time, you had just stepped in, and you had just seen someone get yelled at, spill acid on themselves, and be replaced in the conveyance. So as we open on today, it is mid-afternoon. You have made your way to the Manufactorum, and you are seeing these churning mass of people as they push the industry forth with the loud, reverberating metallic clang as these packs are wrapped before heading off to be welded.
Looks like being burned with acid and taken away is better than toiling in this shithole.
I got the vibe that dude wasn't long for this world, but
If he's still around, it's going to be a terrible life.
You could join Ned Abeus when I find him.
The base is not long for this world either.
All right. Well, I'm looking around, Mordecai, and this seems like a job for you, mate. You're the only one not coughing up a lung. Why don't you get in there and see what you can find? And wherever the fuck Quinoa went, he can go with you.
Quentin, where are you, by the way? Are you just with them still, or are you going in on your own?
I'm standing awkwardly behind him, and I'm just going to breathe on the back of his neck.
What the God damn it, Quinoa. We need to talk about boundaries, mate.
Okay. He flicks the back of your head and then walks off.
All right, so
Sparkids.
you came to this Manufactorum with a myriad host of clues, battery packs, comments. You're still on the search for Gratis, Ragu,
So,
whoever else you were following.
Bradaris, you said that there's like some balconies and some kind of higher areas where I'd assume people are watching these fools work.
Absolutely.
I'm going to try to find some corridors, stairways, something like that to get a higher vantage point.
There's a stairway directly to your right. The gantries also... Go ahead.
What are these stairways looking like? Are they like open and visible, or are these kind of like walled off areas, hallways type deals?
Great question. So the stairways are
Those
open
are the only
air.
kind I ask.
I mean, that's how it should be. The sheer arrogance. And watch.
Brad's like, fuck you guys.
You're going to be like, all right, get up there and you're going to ask the worst question. All right, anyway. The stairways themselves, this is very much a mill. It is a manufacturing space. There are not a lot of enclosed spaces outside of, you see that there's like a singular office that looks down over things. But the gantries themselves are accessible from 2 stairwells, one directly to your right, one to the left, that just rise up. They are mesh, steel, metal steps, open air, that just walk up into it. As you look up, you see that the haze at the top of the Manufactorum, where these people are in the rebreathers, it's stronger than it is here. So you have a feeling that the air's gonna, to quote myself from last time, get a little spicier.
If I get up there, am I seeing any spots where I could kind of tuck behind something and sort of hide or get out of sight?
No,
It's
wrong
just
kind of gantry.
right out in
These
the
are
open?
these are like metallic bars hanging from the ceiling.
I got you. Kind of like if we're in a prison cell.
Kind of like that.
Okay.
Or even think about like a theater or a concert venue where you have the upper stage. It's kind of like that, where it's open air. It's looking down. The people on top, they're not trying to be hidden. They are trying to be seen to look down at the people below them.
Right. And if I go up there with magnoculars, I'm just going to look like an asshat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can get up there. You see dozens of overseers kind of milling about, watching people. There's people you could speak to up there. There's people down here.
I'm going to look at Mordecai and just say, if you see any of those fucking rebreathers up there, fucking snag me one, yeah?
You know who wouldn't look like an asshat up there with magnoculars? Quentin.
I was about to say, like, I could go up there.
I think maybe we should both go up there. We could see what the office looks like. Maybe you could take a peek around. I'll hand you my magnoculars. And I'll start. Well, if I see you, I'm saying this in my head. I don't know where you are. It's like in Family Vacation. Russ.
Quentin's just going to kind of come behind you, grab him, and be like, what? I'm right here.
All right, so Quentin and Mordecai, you're heading up the stairs, up to the upper space. As you step out, the gantry itself is the kind of meshed metal where you can see even below that. It's not a solid thing. The bars hang, it's connected to the ceiling about every 5 feet as a bar runs up to the ceiling to keep the actual walkway connected. The overseers on top are inner breathers with loudhailers, and you see as all of them have whips and shock mauls on their hips. One of them turns to you and you hear a voice go, "Hey, what are you doing up here?"
Shit.
I need to see if he sees Quentin.
While
I
he's
doubt
doing
it,
that-
but let's find out.
Yeah. Quentin's
One day.
not waiting for that. He's just going to start looking around with the binocular things and just...
Wait.
Uh-oh.
No, that's only a +9. Dang it.
So close.
I got so excited. I'm like, he finally gets seen. It finally happens. Nope, just the one servo skull. The one time. So Mordecai, this man has turned to you. He is in administratum robes. He, neck down, massive collar. His collar is actually trimmed in what appears to be like gold cloth. An aquila hangs from a chain around his chest. And he doesn't seem to be... You look at him, I'm not even going to make you roll for this. He doesn't seem to be turning to you aggressively. He's just confused. He's not reaching for his maul yet. But he's said to you, "Hey, what are you doing up here?"
Somebody down there said there was a situation and they wanted a medical kit. I'm just up here getting it.
Roll me a rapport deception, please. And he's going to oppose you.
Deception. Or if you don't have
Yeah,
deception.
it's just rapport if you don't have specialization of deception.
I don't know if a +0 is going to get me there.
We're about to find out. You have a +0?
Yeah.
That silence pistol might get you there.
It's your +0 is better than their -1. So he pauses and he goes, which it's a -1 even with advantage.
Nice.
He kind of pauses and he goes, well, it's already been taken care of, but thank you.
Well, sir, if you don't mind, the guy who sent me here is my superior. I need to make sure that I do it, even if it's been taken care of. He will expect it of me.
Lick spittle logic at its finest.
He looks at you and he goes, no, I'm not sure I understand. We've gotten no calls from the Administratum leadership that anyone's coming for an inspection today.
Oh, no. Not an inspection. I need to get a medical kit. There was an issue.
He looks at you and you see the rebreather just covers the mouth and nose. Very, very Mad Max style coveration, like a Bane kind of mask.
Do a glow in the darkness.
And the eyes narrow and he looks at you and he goes, you need a med kit for one of the serfs. Why? They're just gonna die. It's a waste of resources.
I am not one to question my superior, sir. And I suggest you stop questioning before he hears of this.
Whatever. It's too much paperwork for me. And you see as he looks across the way and his voice amplifies louder as he yells across the gantry. He goes, get this man a med kit. And one of the Administratum officers from the other side just nods, walks into the office, grabs it, begins making his way around the gantry to you. And the gentleman next to you, the Administratum officer next to you, looks to you and goes, is that it?
Fuck you, Brad.
I'd like to point out, is the guy that handed him the med kit going back now?
The guy who's coming your way with a med kit has not left or gone back. He's not even to you yet.
He's not to us yet.
No. First guy's just turning and asking if that's all you want.
Well, I will have to inspect the kit when it gets here to make sure it is all what we need, but it probably will do. I'm gonna ask Quinoa in my head. You got any suggestions here, buddy?
As you ask that, and as you've said this, just to kind of give you a piece of what's happening, he bristles. He looks utterly offended that you would imply that a medical kit would not have the resources needed. And he kind of pulls his shoulders a little tighter, throws his shoulders back a bit and goes, I'm not sure I like what you're implying with that. Our medical kits are fully stocked per the Administratum guidelines.
Oh, well, you're definitely a better manufactorum than I've been in the past. It's good to see you're upholding good standards.
You gain advantage on every check moving forward. Roll me a rapport charm at advantage, please.
That was good.
That was good.
At advantage?
At advantage. You have lick-spittled your way up there.
Alright, well, that'll be a +1.
It's better than a -5.
Hey, remember when Brad said this was the worst talent you could have rolled?
It didn't fit his character at all, but it's fitting perfectly.
It's came in handy a couple times.
So, Mordecai, you say
Yes.
this, and Quentin, as he's spoken to you in your head, we're going to hear what you say next. The aggressive posturing shifts the shoulders stay back, but there's almost like a chin lift of pride as he looks to you and goes, I appreciate that.
You know, actually, with what I've seen here, I am rather impressed. Perhaps I could tell my superior what a good job you're doing. But maybe he'd be more impressed if I knew the office is being run well as well.
That's a bold leap.
Okay, Quentin, have you said anything back to Mordecai in your head as I dwell on?
Dude, I was just
going
gonna follow the guy into the office as he walked back.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
I said that to Mordecai in the head right now. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, what are you doing?
The telepathic link didn't come through in time. I spoke too fast.
There's a little static in there. Wonder where that came from.
The overseer at this maintains his pride and just looks to you and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to need to know who your supervisor is to allow you access to the office." I'm hoping that's making a muffled sound.
Yeah. I'm just gonna kind of smile at him and nudge him with my elbow. You know I wouldn't expect that of you. I'm just kidding.
Brad, how much with this telepathic link? We're not privy to this conversation at all, right?
The telepathic link does not give you access to others.
It's just what he feeds it. Again.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a live feed. It is a walkie-talkie.
All right, you're on your own, bud.
I will pass down information that Quinoa's making a run for it while I'm joshing around with this guy.
The med kit is handed off to you, and that officer turns to resume their path. Now, Quinoa, Quentin, before you follow him, just as a reminder, this gentleman was not in the office prior. He was posted up on the gantry outside of it, also looking down. He went in when yelled at. So just to make sure.
Okay, so it was either way. Then I just start walking towards the office.
Okay,
and I'll add one med pack to my inventory.
You may add a med pack to your inventory.
It's a win-win. So, also, I'm going to look to Dimitri and be like, "Oh, maybe we should prepare a distraction just in case they need one." Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to don my Adeptus Administratum robes and assume my secret identity. I had no idea these were Administratum dudes on these guards.
Okay.
Were those dudes. So.
Overseers, not guards, but yeah. All right. There's nowhere to change directly where you are. You'd have to actually exit the Manufactorum and kind of duck into the alley, because where you're standing right now is just an open floor. There's nowhere really to hide, to change, or you can just throw them on in sight. That's up to you. That's not a good idea. You know this.
No, but okay. So there's no corners in this room, or
I mean, there's corners, but they're not like hidden. So literally,
okay. Scratch.
Imagine
that,
just
I didn't
walk
realize
around in
I
the
was
alley.
standing in the middle of a gymnasium.
The alley's like 30 seconds away, right?
Yeah, you're literally at the front door. The alley's right outside.
Just go duck out quick.
I'll do that then.
Okay. And to your question, yes, you are in the equivalent of like a massive gymnasium, or think of even like an automotive space. There's just not a lot of hiding spaces. It's just huge and open, right?
While he's doing that, I want to look around to see if there's any people or machines that I think would be really easy to cause a ruckus in a pinch.
Give me a challenging +0 awareness check. And if you have perception, you may use that. Quentin, as he rolls this, you have reached the other gantry. The office door is shut, and the person you're following has taken his position looking down again.
Brad,
Can I see into the office?
You cannot see into the office. It is like a stone wall with a door from this side.
Can I tell if anyone's looking at this direction right now?
Give me an easy +40 awareness perception. Mordecai, yes, sir.
I was just going to point out, when he's doing this, I'm just going to be sitting here kind of doing mundane back and forth with this guard to kind of hold his attention. How long have you worked here? what blah, blah, blah.
+5.
+5. No one is watching the door that you can see within your visible line of sight at this time.
I'm just going to open the door and try to go in.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Roderick, how'd your test go?
33 out of 45 +1.
Beautiful. You immediately see someone not too far from you who appears to be having some problems. Directly next to you, there are 2 conveyor belts away. There's an emaciated worker who is turning a huge crank to power these conveyor belts. And you realize you didn't think about it, but the conveyor belts do not run automatically. There's someone at each end holding onto a crank two-handed and just heave-hoing it in circular fashion to move the conveyor belts down and keep things moving. He's watching, the person that you see is watching this like shoddy, homemade metronome that is ticking. And you see as he's trying to have the downstroke of the conveyor belt every time the metronome hits the left or right edge. His mouth is moving nonstop. And as you watch, the metronome goes tick, tick, and you hear vroom, vroom. And the metronome goes tick, and it stops. And he all of a sudden starts going, oh. And then it ticks again. He goes, okay, cranks. Vroom, vroom.
Got it.
The metronome hits the right side again, and it doesn't stop this time. It hits the right edge, and it goes from going tick, 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 tick. And he is now cranking. Vroom, vroom, vroom. The conveyor belt is moving, and as the conveyor belt moves, he doesn't put anything on the belt. People next to him are taking empty shells of las packs and putting them on the conveyor belt to move them to the next stage. And you watch as people are trying to, oh my god, they're reaching and they're putting them up there with trying to keep a perfect spacing between these packs. And one individual you see as 2 laborers reach down and they're each grabbing packs, put them down, reach back, grab another one and go to put it down, and they actually slip and they fall onto the conveyor belt, sending them careening to the next step of the process, which is the huge vat of acid that people are pulling the slurry from to pour the las packs themselves.
Oh. Shit, that escalated a lot faster than I thought it was going to, and I was looking for a thing I could cause a distraction with, but now there's just a distraction presenting itself. Yep. I'm gonna shout as loud as I can, "Oi, halt production on this one! There's someone on the conveyor belt!"
Okay.
They're not going to stop.
We'll get right back to that. Dimitri, you have changed into your robes. You step back into the space as Roderick is yelling this at the top of his lungs, and you see as 2 people are on this conveyor belt, and the guy is still vroom, vroom, vroom. That conveyor belt is moving quickly with these bodies towards a vat of acid.
Okay, that looks normal. I would like to look for any sort of interfaces to specifically to the auto hammer that is pressing the las packs.
Okay, you're going to make your way to the 3rd step of production, which is the auto hammer. We'll get to you again.
Or
Quentin.
wherever, if it's obvious where an interface would be to control that. So maybe not necessarily the hammer, but the machinery that would control it.
You specifically want to control the clamper?
Yeah, the big thing mashing these las packs together.
All right. Okay. Well, you start making your way down the line past the conveyance section where the empty las packs come to the end of the conveyor. They're taken off by one person who hands them to another who is scooping acid and pouring it, who puts it onto the next step that goes to... You make your way past all that towards the clamper. We'll come right back to you. Balancing, juggling plates here. Here we go. Back to Quentin. Quentin, you step into the office. Inside, not with an 83, there's an overseer sitting at a desk, entering data onto a data slate and also scribbling something onto parchment. Door opens, and he looks up and he goes, "Yes." Doesn't seem to notice you.
I'll just casually walk behind him because I'm assuming he's sitting.
He's sitting. The fact that you can open a door and walk into a room and not be noticed, like,
it's amazing. I love it.
It's insane.
I'm just gonna walk casually behind him and just kind of just look at what he's doing and kind of like look around the office.
Okay, so the office is in standard administratum fashion. A disaster. There's paperwork everywhere. Scrolls of parchment, books, data slates just stacked haphazardly with like half-empty cups of recaf scattered on the desk in front of this guy. You look over his shoulder and you see that he's running tithe numbers. And you can quickly see that he's basically just tracking how many battery packs they've made per hour versus where they have to be to meet their portion of the tithe. The number per hour is in the thousands. The number per year is in the millions. And that's what he's doing. He's doing. You can tell he's doing like ledger balancing, basically.
Okay. I'm just gonna kind of poke around without getting too much into like actually moving things, but just kind of looking around, trying to see if there's anything that might be on some of the paperwork this lot out there that might be relevant to Gratus or the Reds and the Dives or doing anything weird in the area. If there's any type of clue I can find, I'm just kind of looking.
Anything on Gratis or the knives or anything like that?
Yeah, or something that just seems like it might be off, because if there's like some kind of weird anomaly in the numbers or something that could be like, hey, they're doing something shady at night in the here or something.
Logic investigation. Since you're trying not to move things and cause attention, we will call it... You're not going to be at disadvantage, so we will just call it a...
And I will say I will move things, but it's going to be like small movements, not like I'm going to take a stack of papers. And
no, totally understood. So you're looking for discrepancies about Gratis, production, etc. that would give you some kind of insight. Make it a hard -20 logic investigation.
-20?
Yep.
28. The -1, actually, it's not bad.
Not bad. The room is full of, as I said, stacked parchments, books, data slates. Every ounce of it is historical production data dating back over 20 years. Do you want to spend a lot of time or a little time?
Little time. I'm not looking to spend too much time. If I'm just seeing like this is boring bulk number shit, I'm moving on to the next thing.
Takes you 15 minutes to look through the room. It's all boring bulk number shit. Nothing stands out to you with a -1 as being anything of note.
And then I'd like to, one final thing, as I go to, before I leave this room, if he's not looking and there's some papers behind him, I'm just going to shove one of them over and then head towards the door.
Okay. So as you're looking through him, he has actually stood up and he has moved to the door, and you see as he's standing there with the door in his hand, like looking out, and he looks out and he goes, "Why'd you open the door?" The other voice goes, "I didn't." He looks around again, he goes, "Huh." At that point, do you shove the papers?
Well, I would assume that would be 15 minutes hasn't passed in that interaction.
No. He waited. So as you're looking through the room,
okay, he waited that long.
He's been looking at the door, being like, "What the hell?" Like waiting for somebody to come in.
I wouldn't shove it if he's coming right back in. I'd stop, wait for him to maybe go sit down, and then do it. So after he's resumed his things. At
about the 10-minute mark, he kind of gets up. What the hell? Shuts the door, sits back down. You shove the papers over. He turns to look and goes, "Son of a bitch," and starts picking them up.
And then I'll head out the door.
Okay. As the door swings open, he looks up, he goes, "I swear to God, shut the damn door." That's Quentin. Roderick and Dimitri and Mordecai. Mordecai, you've been hosting this nonchalant small talk. You watch two people fall onto the conveyor belt and see Dimitri booking it to the third stop of the conveyance as Roderick is yelling, "Stop it, somebody fell on."
Well, while this has all been happening, I'm trying to kind of chum it up with this guy. Man, he's a great guard. He's doing a good job. Blah, blah, blah.
He's got 2 kids, been married for 5 years, lives on the hive level.
Am I getting the sense that this guy takes his job pretty serious, or is he more slack and laxed? am I getting any sense that he's kind of good guy, bad guy kind of deal?
Intuition.
All right.
Challenging +0.
They're all bad, Alex. All of them.
That's a flat 30. Hold on.
Okay, flat 30's not bad.
+1.
Takes his job. You get the vibe. He takes his job seriously. He's as corrupt as anyone else in the Imperium. You toss him a couple solars, he tends to look the other way. At least that's the vibe you're getting currently, especially because he's got 3 kids and has to put food on the table.
I'm just gonna kind of start wading in to a little more serious talk with. I heard there's been some trouble at some of these other manufactorums. Some sort of substance or something's been affecting their workers. I doubt that kind of thing's going on around here.
He looks at you and he goes, well, can't imagine that it doesn't. I'm sure in every manufactorum we have the same run of issues of, hey, stop it, he fell. Turns, looks down and just goes, well, shit. Looks up. We're gonna need 2 more laborers on conveyor 2.
Did they stop when I shouted or nah?
Nope, the guy cranking it is still moving at the pace he is.
If I'm not too late, I want to rush over and basically cuff that dude who's cranking it and knock
you're not
his.
too late.
I'm gonna knock his metronome over.
Okay,
Tell him to
a lot
stop
of things are
that shit.
happening simultaneously, so you're definitely not too late.
Yep.
You run over and knock the metronome over. What I need you to do to stop him is it's going to be an athletics test. Specifically, if you have any advances in it, you're going to use athletics might.
Okay. I hope this is easier because he's an emaciated dude that's cranking a thing. Kicking him in the knee doesn't seem very hard. Just saying.
Kicking him in the knee may not seem very hard. It's going to be challenging, and he will oppose you.
Fair enough.
And the Gratis has struck with a 97.
All of my rolls are shit today, Brad.
I
And
doubt
that
it's
is
worse than a 97.
I mean, it's a 72 out of 28, so it's not great.
This guy sees you coming and kicks himself in the knee.
Your -5 is better than his -7.
Sick. So
Right on.
I'm stronger than an emaciated factory worker. That's good.
You are. Well,
Barely.
you are. So as you rush over and you grab him and try to pull him off and kick at his knee to get him off of this whirring wheel, you knock the metronome over and he just goes, what are you doing? And he seems to try to maintain the pace. As you grab him, despite his appearance, he is strangely strong. He feels flabby, like loose, not strong muscle. He's got that kind of soft tissue feel, but he's got a death grip. And he goes to push you away, and he's just like, no, and he kind of shoves you back, but you manage to grab hold of him and yank. And as you do, the conveyor stops. Whirs to a stop. The first laborer, all of 5 feet from the pit of acid, from the vat of acid. They scramble off the conveyor belt. Mordecai, you hear the guy next to you go, scratch that. No need for the extra workers.
Damn.
Dimitri, you have made your way to the 3rd step of the process, the battery pack clamper, the large metallic press that goes clong, and as it does, it molds the piece that needs to be welded in place to these full packs of acid. You see that the way the machine works is that the first conveyor belt turns. People put empty battery packs on it. They reach the end of the conveyor, are pulled off, set into a space where another person at that same station, dips, pulls out a container of acid, carefully fills the battery pack. Then that laborer who's filled the battery pack hands it to a 3rd laborer who moves it onto a 2nd conveyor belt. That moves it to the clamper. You also see as the laborers, as you get to the 3rd space, laborers are moving the unclamped battery packs from that 2nd conveyor belt, which seems to run on the same wheel as the first, the guy who turns it seems to run on the same one, same process. They take it from that conveyor belt and they move the filled battery packs into the clamper by hand. So they move down line, are taken off a conveyor, filled with acid, put on another conveyor to move down line, and then taken off that conveyor and put into the clamper by hand. You see as the people running these machines are normally bellowing a countdown like 5, 4, 3, and then pulling a lever where the clamper comes down with several thousand pounds of force, crushes them shut. The packs are then removed and sent off for soldering, welding. As you step up, you see as someone is yelling and just going, all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Good. Clears them. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Clears them. They're moving. And this is the pace everyone's moving at. But the station you come up to, there's a woman. Short, cropped, blonde hair, shaved on both sides, tattoos above her ears. And she's bellowing out the countdowns and slamming them and going, all right, faster. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. The people are trying to actively keep up with the flow, trying to put them on there. And she's timing it where when they put the last pack on, the clamp is already moving, even as their hands are coming out. So she's trying to go at like peak efficiency. As you watch, the last pack is put on and the person's reaching in. She pulls the lever. And as they're trying to pull out, they get caught. Their robe gets caught on a piece of a battery pack. And they're trying to pull out and they get stuck. What do you want to do?
Okay. I mean, how close am I to this lever this lady's pulling?
You're right next to her as she's pulling it.
Okay.
As you look at her and you see that with the clamp, one extra piece is that she has customized augmentics up her arm that are hardwired into the clamp as well. So it's as she's pulling it, there's like almost like biodata going back and forth with the process. It's very standard. This is something you'd see standard with like servitors, but it's not uncommon in Manufactorum serfs who run machinery like this.
I'm not doing shit yet.
Okay. The clamp slams shut the worker's arms in the clamp, and with a burst of blood, both arms are severed at the elbows. And the worker pulls up just going, ah! Falling backwards, blood coming out of two stumps.
Okay. What is the lady who's been yanking this lever like a good little employee doing?
Hold, please.
No, Dimitri, I think we missed an opportunity there. We saved two. That gives us the right to kill one. Just saying. Now our count's all off.
No.
So
I'm not done. I felt like I was being railroaded, so I'm gonna move past that, and I'm going to choose now.
That's fair.
There were options. You weren't railroaded. There were options.
I know. I'm looking for my option.
Yeah, this is a great option. So as this happens, bloody stumps come back. She looks uncaring and just goes, "You're too slow. I need another one." And another laborer starts moving through the pace to fill as her clamp is just open and she's just tapping her foot impatiently.
As she's giving those directions, in my best Adeptus Administratum voice,
Yeah.
I'm going to come up to her out of the blue. You are past due for calibration. And I'm going to have my tools out and like looking right at her augmetic arm.
Okay.
You were looking for your options, weren't you?
She looks to you and she just goes, she kind of, you see as she looks at a chrono piece on her wrist and she goes, my break's in 15. Can we do it then?
And I'm ignoring that bitch, and I am whipping out my diagnoster, and I'm scanning her and just getting all up into her personal space.
Sure.
Looking for that data access port on her augmetic arm.
So you can see that the augmentics on her arm are the socket ports for wiring. There is an access point right behind her, like on her right tricep, that seems to run to the whole line of them.
All right, I'm going to plug my data slate into it.
Okay. What do you want to do with your data slate in her augmentic arm?
Not a lot. I want to create an offset. So when she thinks she's pulling, it's gonna pull not that.
All right, I need a...
So if she's counting 3, 2, 1, it's gonna be 3, 2, squish.
Oh god, you're trying to hack an augmentic of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Okay.
Oh,
And I want
God.
and I want, if I can, I'm gonna try and program like a 5-minute delay into that little bit of code.
Okay. This is going to be a number one. I love this. This is great.
Dude, this is my first time I can use my tech augmetics. I'm doing this shit.
So
It's
what
digital
I want
possession.
is I want you're trying to get into the augmetics just to see if you can, for lack of a better word, fuck with them.
Okay.
So first test, this is going to be a multi-step test. To get into the code of an actual augmetic, I'd like a challenging +0 tech augmetics test.
Okay. So that's a 36 and a 48. That's 3 success levels.
Okay. You're blatantly in. And as you look at your slate and you see that you're in her augmetics, you can immediately shut them off if you wish. The next step is if you want to do the programming piece, you have to do another test to see if you can actually change the programming of her augmetics. If
I
you'd
would like to do that.
Okay. Then that's going to be a hard -20 tech augmetics test.
Would it be any easier since I can do it in half the time?
What do you mean you can do it in half the time?
My data delver talent.
Oh, that's right.
I can read everything
Yes.
doubly so.
With Data Delver, it will change from a hard to a difficult -10.
Okay. And that's still tech augmetics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. -10.
Dude, Dimitri is a mystery bag of tricks. I don't know what's going on right now.
So that's 2 success levels.
He's hacking into body parts. That's what's going on. Buddy.
Literally. You backdoor the code. And the binary script of the tech priests. I mean, augmetics are a base level thing that any Kyrugian can do, but the coding of them tends to have to go through the tech priests either way. It's not something that most people can just mess with. However, as you hack into this one, you realize that it's old tech priest tech that has been revamped on the street to allow these serfs to get augmetics. It's not nearly as secure as a true Adeptus Mechanicus system. That said, you begin to backdoor the system and you see as some of the security protocols begin to and you're just rapid fire. You said +2, yeah?
+20. Oh, +2, yeah, sorry.
You're rapid fire shutting down the alerts. And you manage to get into the back door. You manage to get into the codifiers of the augmetics, where, while her arm is predominantly still flesh, the augmetics do hook to the machine, and you know that there's some level of data relay. You are able to program it so that when she pulls, the augmetics have a 35-second delay between her physical action and their secondary piece into the machinery. What that means is that as she goes to pull, the augmetics are not going to help her for 35 seconds. So she starts to pull, and she just doesn't have the full strength to pull the lever until that kicks in 35 seconds later. You can't.
35 seconds?
I'm confused by that time, but okay.
You don't manage to get a full 5 minutes.
Oh, so it was kind of a 2-piece thing. There was a delay, so I could dip the fuck out of there and not be culpable in my felony.
Oh.
And then there would be just an offset, so she yanks and the timing's off.
Gotcha.
Is what I was trying to do.
Okay.
So my goal is to make the timing off, but then have it kick in later so I could run away.
Adjusted. So to make sure I fully understood what you're asking, so I apologize. You wanted a delay of her action by about 30 to 35 seconds. That would kick in 5 minutes later.
A delay on the onset of...
Yeah.
So you know how she's pulling the lever every 3 seconds?
Yep.
When she pulls, I want there to be like a second delay either way.
Got it.
The hammer falls a second either earlier or later than she would think it would fall.
Oh God!
I want that shenanigan to kick in later if possible. That's what I'm trying to do.
Now I understand. You manage with the back door to immediately make it where when she pulls, when her brain fires to her arm to pull the lever, it will happen 1 second sooner than she thinks.
Perfect. Okay.
And it will trigger in roughly 5 minutes.
Delayed onset augmetic shenanigans.
The delayed onset OSHA violations, what I'm making. And I'm ready. Okay. That's
chopping arms one after another. Jeez.
So about that murder hobo party.
Yeah, I mean, y'all just went and
y'all, I'm nowhere near this. You just calm down
office
with the y'all.
I haven't done anything.
I didn't say shit. All right. Lord. Back
bring
to
your
Mordecai.
hardware to maintenance, I'm going to say, as I yank my cord without properly disconnecting my USB device, because I'm a G, and I roll out of there back towards Roderick.
Okay. As you begin to make your way back towards Roderick, Mordecai, from up top, you've now made your way out of the office and back towards the group. Mordecai, is there anything else you want to do up top chatting with this gentleman? You've caught that he doesn't seem to be bad. He's just, he's an overseer.
Well, I'm trying to find out if there's any suspicious activity going on in here. I've mentioned the substance going around at other manufacturers, so I'm trying to glean from him, gauge his reaction on when I mention it. Does he seem kind of taken aback, or is he like...
No, doesn't seem surprised at all. In fact, as you say that, he had, as I had said, he had made a comment of, if it's in other places, it's probably here. And as Dimitri is doing his auditing of that woman's arm, as Roderick is jumping up to wrest someone off of the crank of a conveyor belt, he looks out and he goes, situations like this, we've had a few individuals who seem to take their work almost a little too much to heart. I know that there's some drug going around that seems to make people work harder, and frankly, if we meet our tithes, I don't care if they use it. Until this shit happens, because then I need a new worker.
So what do you think? Is it prevalent here as well?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure somebody's using it. Might want to go talk to that one.
Which one?
He points, and he points to the conveyor belt person that Roderick has in hand. And he points, he goes, oh, Lord, or her. And you see as he points down at a different conveyor, where at the welding station, there's a hunched laborer who is just meticulously welding a las pack. And he goes, hang on a second. The loud hailer comes on. He goes, hey, move to the next pack. You've been at that one for too long. She just continues to weld the same weld. And he goes, seeking perfection.
Yes, and doing a good job of it as well. Yeah, going down to speak to these creatures is certainly not going to be as enjoyable as speaking with you. I guess.
He kind of puffs up a bit. He goes, and as you see this, he's snapping at his partner across the way and pointing at the woman who's welding. That gentleman, as you're saying this, is moving down the gantry and just screaming at her. She doesn't seem to be responding.
This guy doesn't really seem interested in discussing this further with me.
No, he is. But he's busy pointing this out. So he is confirmed that yes, he believes it's happening. He's pointed out a few people who are probably using it. Beyond that, as he snaps his finger and gets his other buddy to go down, he goes, that's about all I know, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, nothing to be sorry about. It's not like it matters to me. I was just making conversation. And then I'm gonna probably take this chance to see if Quinoa's coming out yet.
Oh, Quinoa's standing
If I
right
even
next to you at
notice
this
him.
point.
I'd blow on your ear.
Oh, God.
I immediately have an ear infection.
So, Mordecai.
Through the telepathic link, I'm going to let these guys know.
Okay.
There are a couple people the guard has indicated are probably using Gratis. Other than that, he doesn't seem to know much.
We should question them.
At this conversation through the telepathic link, there is about to be big distraction. 5 minutes. Make it fast.
That does not sound good, Dimitri.
This is very nice distraction. Elegant.
I'm assuming Mordecai has told us which ones he pointed out.
Actually, Roderick, you're standing right next to one of them.
Yeah,
That
he's
goofy fella
strong,
turning the
too.
crank.
I'm still trying to wrestle him away from his job while they get their shit sorted out.
Maybe he's hitting the dust, man.
Dust, bro.
Quinoa's going to start making his way over to Roderick.
Make your way to Roderick. Mordecai, did you call out all of them or just the one that Roderick had?
I would, from my count, there was 2 of them, right?
Pointed out the
There
2.
was the dude welding. Yeah,
Yeah.
so, no, I only told them about the one Roderick's next to. I guess I'll tell Quentin that we can go check on the dude welding.
Okay.
Because I want to split the party.
We've
Further.
been split this whole time.
I know.
Well,
I
I'm
wanna
going to
continue
Roderick.
It's a
I'm going to the guy he's holding him.
juggling act. So, Quentin, you're moving to Roderick. Dimitri?
Am I seeing this correctly where I was already pretty close to Roderick and the hand crank dude? Just a little bit I was just a little further down the assembly line?
Further down the assembly line, which it's not 15 feet, it's more like 50 feet, but yeah.
Sure. So it's the door we came in on.
Yep.
Roderick, further down from that even is where I was doing my stuff.
Yep.
All right, I'm coming back then towards Roderick is
Okay.
where I'm kind of at.
Mordecai, are you going to go investigate the welding or are you joining the party?
I'm going to go investigate the welding, and I'm just going to kind of talk over my shoulder. Yes, Quentin, I'll deal with this guy. I think I have a plan, not knowing that he's not with me.
Okay. Dimitri, Quentin, Roderick. Roderick, you have gotten control of this wiry, strangely strong person. You've pulled them off of the conveyor belt, off of their crank. What would you like to do?
Is anyone
I am going
coming to try and stop me doing anything, or
No,
They just
and
don't care?
You've pulled them off the conveyor belt, and the administrative officers don't seem to care at first because he was obviously causing a problem. But as you're beginning to wrest control, Dimitri, as you're making your way, a loud hailer from above, you hear a voice go, "Hey, get that conveyor working again." And as if you look up at all, Dimitri, whether you do or don't, they're looking at you and pointing at Roderick.
The minute I walk up, I am casting mental interrogation.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
As a member or a pseudo member of the Adeptus Administratum,
Yep.
would I know like more of a casual hand signal of acknowledgement? Is there something specific to that organization that
Not
would?
specific to the administratum. I mean, you could just do
Okay.
the wave of yup, or you could throw up the Aquila or whatever you think would be fitting.
do I even
Yeah.
recognize you, Dimitri? Like, what the fuck do you look like in robes? Did you like strip the flak jacket off, or what?
I just figure I threw the robes on over my shit. I don't know.
It's kind of what I was thinking.
Like I was envisioning more of like a Scooby-Doo villain ghost scenario.
Right, Reggie. Pull the mask off. It's Dimitri. So,
Okay.
Dimitri, you make your way. Quentin, how did that roll go?
+4.
Okay.
He's got to oppose it with a challenging +0 discipline psychic test.
Okay. Nope. -1.
So then he also doesn't know I'm probing his mind.
Correct.
Because he failed the test. and that is a +5 success level
Okay.
difference. So I can reveal the target's innermost thoughts, feelings, motivations, fears, relationships, secrets, and agendas.
Hell yeah.
And that brings your warp charges from 4 to
6.
6 it is. Okay.
Because I did not push this one.
You get into this man's mind easily. And you can get you basically get everything with him. You said you had a +5?
Yeah, +5 difference, yeah.
Good lord.
Difference, yeah.
Okay, so you can basically get whatever you want. You catch that the gentleman's name is you see all kinds of old memories. His name is Theocles. His desires are just to be as efficient as he can, to not lose his job and not be let go from the Manufactorum so he can feed his wife. You see all kinds of thoughts of Gratis. He is definitively a Gratis user. That is immediately apparent as you dive into his mind. And his current most desired thought was, his brain just keeps repeating, need to fix it, need to fix it, need to fix it. And you see images of his metronome and the conveyor belt. And there's just this overwhelming feeling of panic emanating from him as he's trying to right what he sees as a wrong in his workflow.
I also would like to, as I'm probing his mind, look into seeing if there's a significant person or a location where he gets his Gratis and how he gets his Gratis.
You can absolutely, with that roll, you can absolutely find that he buys his Gratis here at the Manufactorum, outside in the alley, underneath some of the exhaust pipes, from a gentleman in a red coat with 15 spikes on his head.
Is there any trigger for when he does it? Is he like call him? Does he like just show up? Does he wait? Like, oh, you notice he's there and go meet him? You are able to, with that read, discern that his buying day is today, and that guy should be around the area this afternoon, around this time. Around this time, okay. I'm going to immediately share this with the party and say, look, share the information with the location. Say he buys it from a dude in a red coat, buys it today, and whatever the general time frame would have been, and say we need to be there.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to let this dude go. Back to work with you then.
He's...
Ginwa, how did you get over there? Weren't you with me?
Can you find out how frequently he buys?
Yeah,
I'm
assuming, I guess.
You could have read that at this time. He buys once a week.
Okay, so the meat is weekly. Okay, got it.
So, Roderick, as you let him go, he rushes over, writes his metronome, tweaks it a bit, and you see that it's back to tick, 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 and he grabs the wheel and begins turning, and then a voice from above in a loud hailer rasp goes, "Don't fuck it up again." Mordecai, you've made your way down the conveyance. You've passed the empty batteries moving. You've passed the people sloshing acid into them. And you're making your way past the clamper as you see the individual in front of you doing their weld. You've noticed that they are still welding the same pack that they were welding when you came down the stairs. The TIG line, the weld line, is almost thick at this point. As you approach, you hear a repeated phrase. There's just this person constantly going, "Must be perfect, must be perfect, must be perfect, must be perfect." And they're redoing it again. Give me an intuition check. It will be challenging +0.
+0.
+0 is good enough. You recognize that the strain that they are putting on the battery pack will cause it to explode.
I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna kind of grab his shoulder.
Okay.
And, "Hey, buddy." Does he stop?
So you grab their shoulder, they don't stop. And in fact, they don't stop. And in fact, as they're welding, they just briefly glance out of the corner of their eye and they go, Let me go. Must be perfect, must be perfect, must be perfect. And they keep welding it.
I'm gonna slap it out of his hand.
Okay.
Not super aggressively, but I'm gonna hit the welder and I'm gonna say, listen, this is important.
Okay.
You're gonna blow yourself up.
Give me an athletics, might, challenging +0 opposed test. What a time.
Athletics.
What a time to actually roll well.
Yeah, I rolled pretty terribly too. -3.
Okay, your -3 is worse than their -1. You slap the welder, and their hand moves slightly and goes right back online.
I'm gonna say, listen, this is about getting you more stuff. Listen to me.
Make a
He's a junkie plus 80 check.
Yeah.
make a roll me a D100 and give me a challenging intuition check. It's a dual check. So you're going to roll a D100, you're going to test it challenging against your intuition and against your rapport.
Man, I got these cheeseburgers, man. Let me see. 32. You said intuition is a +1.
Okay.
Rapport is a +0.
Okay. As you attempt to get this person to stop, they do, as you mentioned the substance, they stop and they turn to look at you, and you realize that the welder is cooking the same spot on the las pack with just enough time that you see as it begins to glow red hot and expand as if it's going to explode. And we'll find out what happens to you next time.
Aww. Brad.
I would also like to have Quentin purge his psychic charges at the same time.
So before this session ends, we need to do something that we've been meaning to get to, and I told you to remind me to get to it, Dimitri, and we didn't do it. Dimitri.
There's no time.
Well, we needed to do it at the beginning. Let's roll your random talents because you did spend your XP. So before we
do we want to
fully
say how he spent his XP or nah?
we're going to get to it. So before we get to the close of the session, Dimitri, you spent 100 XP. Tell me what you did.
So I opted for hypno indoctrination.
The fuck?
Which,
the fuck is that?
Well, apparently what it is our probably our patron or some other shadowy individual spent a whole lot of time brainwashing and editing my subconscious to upload certain skills.
Yep.
And basically the talent allows me to roll 2 times on the random talents table and get 2 talents applied immediately to my character.
I'm gonna start calling you Chuck.
Pretty dope.
So
you're going to roll on the random talents table, which is on page 74. If you roll a talent you already have, you can choose a different talent from the table that you already meet the requirements for.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead and roll your first random talent.
Yes, plug into the intersect, Chuck.
Lick spittle. Join me.
Lick spittle.
I don't know if I can handle 2 lick spittles in the party.
I don't know if I can handle it.
25, which is
Distracting.
distracting.
Yep.
So is that like the opposite of quinoa?
Basically.
It's Roderick.
Distracting.
You're in my party now.
Distracting is what Roderick has.
Oh,
so
you have distracting?
He does.
Nice.
That's what I used in that first scene in session 1, I think.
Yep.
I thought that was gothic gibberish.
It was
that you
2
were
things.
using.
Both.
He did it
I
too.
distracted them
okay.
to like point them in the wrong direction and give them disadvantage on a thing.
Gotcha.
And then I went
Okay.
and hit them with the gothic gibberish.
Yeah, so distracting allows you to use the talent once per encounter to do something to interrupt another person making a test.
It's nice.
So-
It's
Which
good.
is what you did. Okay. Gotcha.
And
and you
give them
can do it
disadvantage
as a
on that.
reaction too. You don't have
Yep.
to use your own action to do it.
Exactly right. And you give them disadvantage on that one test.
Okay.
All right. So
Well,
that's a
cool.
great one.
All right. I will take that.
So Dimitri, as you hardwired into the woman's arm, and attempted to backdoor it, you all of a sudden unlocked the hypno memory of how you should have tried to distract her.
I like that.
That's fitting.
Dope.
Next up.
All right. 24.
Is also
Same
distracted.
Damn it.
That's
So how does that work?
you get to pick on the table as long as you meet the criteria. And if you want to stew on that between now and next time, you may.
So I just get to pick one on the table that I meet the requirements for?
That's
Yep.
pretty dope.
That
If
is
you
pretty
look at-
dope.
If you
Shit.
look at the punch out for random talents, the last thing it says is if you roll on a talent that you already have, you can choose any talent you meet the requirements for.
Okay. I mean, shit.
You can
I don't
take your
really
time or
wanna-
you can tell me
Yeah,
right
I
now.
got to read through these,
Let's
I think.
do that. Take your
Next
time.
time.
And when we
I was
open-
expecting to be told what I had, so yeah, I
No,
need
no.
to read.
I will let you pick. So, with
Okay.
episode 9, we're going to open with what you selected.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, with that, we must say goodbye. It is time for this session to come to a close. Thank you so much for listening. If you could, make sure you head over to our website and check out deadsunsco.com for links to all of our socials, any updates, any news, etc. If you like what you've heard and you'd like to support us, please consider heading over to patreon.com/deadsunscompany to show us some love. Or don't.
Because
Your call.
if you're not a patron, you're a heretic.
Hey, I didn't say it. With that, we will see everybody for episode number 9. That's insane.